My people were biologically determined for one purpose alone, to say goodbye. Except we don't ever actually say goodbye, do we? But we're damn good at crying.
Hello and welcome to a Discovery Home Companion. Yep, that's the podcast that you know that you are listening to. Welcome, companions. My name is Wade Bowen, and this week we don't quite have as full a house. We got just some of the old season 2 regulars here. We have Glen Hall.
Hi, everyone.
And Sean Perrotta is back.
He's back, baby.
Hey,
yeah. Star
baby.
Trek's boring now.
Yeah. So, how'd you enjoy your break there, Sean?
I enjoyed not watching Star Trek.
Hey.
I watched both last week's and this week's episodes this morning, and wanted to go back to bed forever.
Why? You didn't miss much, did you?
No, I mean, truly, I really could have not watched last week's episode and just assumed that they got a time crystal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was the only matter of consequence. Not to ignore the Pike stuff, which seemed interesting enough, but boy, for the most part, not a lot really worth investing in last week's episode, and truly this week's episode either.
Well, I mean, you put it perfectly. You literally could have skipped these episodes, and
Yeah.
you would not, you could have watched the recap and, been up to speed and not missed anything of value.
Yeah, I mean, I watched last week's episode and then started this week's episode with the recap, and boy, I mean, they didn't leave anything out, because there was nothing really happening in the periphery of that episode that's really worth noting. And, I mean, look, I finished that episode, and I said, all right, this was table setting for, a big 2-part finale, which I was on board with, if that was what was happening, that would have been fine, end of seasons are allowed to do that.
Then you get more table setting, right?
Yeah, and today was more fucking table setting.
Unbelievable.
We don't need 2 episodes of table setting. Star Trek, the table's set. This episode was such a fucking dour, oh, we're setting up for the end, and and it's you just set up for the end, you dicks. The end should be here. I don't need, and now what? We get, all of it crammed into one last episode that's, gonna be disappointing, because it could have been 2 episodes of ending.
Right. Well, I didn't even actually mind a lot of this episode. I actually was here for some of it for half an hour, and then after half an hour in, it's all right, well, now we're going to take the rest of the show just for everybody to fucking cry for 40 minutes.
Right. That's
all right.
I don't need for them all to cry and then to all decide they're going with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm and then to cry about leaving their lives behind it. I'm I don't
Well,
it's just the problem is the problem we've talked about so much is that they have not earned these character beats.
Right.
Yeah.
They literally have Pike saying goodbye to characters who have never said a word beyond "I, Captain."
Right. Yeah.
Who are these 2 guys that he's you guys did good at ship? And I'm what are you talking about?
Yeah, he's you're cool because you were good at that, and you two, he's naming everybody by name. And
yeah, and I'm who are these people?
y'all are pretty good too. And
Dorothy leaving Oz.
sorry, I'll miss you most of all, Scarecrow.
Yep. You beat me to it.
He even acknowledged the lady who took over for Robot Lady. He's you did a good job stepping up for her. I'm did she? We don't know that. You didn't establish her as a character, so ignore her. Don't say goodbye to her. No one's gonna be he didn't say goodbye to generic blonde lady who took over for Robot Lady. I'm mad.
Did I mention the little bit of trivia about generic blonde lady who took over for Robot Lady?
I don't think I know it.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
In season 1, she was the Robot Lady.
Oh,
What?
What?
Oh, but not in this season?
In season 1, Ariam was played by that actor.
But
season 2, they recast the actor portraying Ariam and killed her, and then brought in the original Ariam actor as her replacement.
Weird.
Okay, that's kind of fun, a little weird, but it's
To be Lieutenant Nelson or whatever.
It's sort of a little Laura Palmer situation.
Yeah.
Get the actress to play Maddie.
Is that something that happened on Twin Peaks?
Yeah, Laura Palmer, like the central dead lady that sets everything in motion.
Oh, I know who.
The actress who plays her cousin Maddie.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, and everyone's like, "You look so much like Laura," and it's like, I mean, it's fun. It's
Yeah.
it's truly like one of the least distracting things about Twin Peaks.
I've got a lot of catching up on Twin Peaks to do, but that's a whole
Yeah,
other thing.
I didn't finish The Return.
Me neither. I haven't started it, but I will.
That's another pod.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I didn't like most of this episode. I actually, like I was saying, I didn't mind it so much. Some of the stuff, but then by the end of it, they haven't traveled through time yet, but the timeline is so fucked up on this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we want to just start breaking it down?
I was about to say we should do a quick recap.
Okay. So you got that, Sean?
Okay, nothing happens. All right, let's get started.
Yeah, that's the quickest recap we do. The episode's called Such Sweet Sorrow.
Part 1.
Right.
I'm mad at Star Trek.
The most detailed breakdown I could give is that they leave the ship because Leland's going to be there in 20 hours, so it's very urgent.
No, he's going to be there in like 10 minutes, and they jump to where he's going to be.
It was 1 hour. He
1
was going to be there in like
yeah.
55 minutes.
57 minutes.
Yeah, there you go.
It just highlights how much they just took the wind out of the sails of any momentum they had, where it's like, the bad guy's coming. Oh, we actually, guys, we have a little bit of time. We can, kind of...
They needed so much science nonsense to talk. They knew that, like, if they set, like, a 5-minute timer, everybody would have been like, you could not physically talk that much science nonsense in the amount of time you gave yourself.
I don't trust that they could do it in an hour, honestly.
I don't either. There was, like, a lot of science nonsense.
They're like, we have an hour. Oh shit, build a space angel suit.
Yeah.
Charge this warp thing with this special thing. Go over and pick up Tilly's old BFF.
Oh,
that's a season 1 situation?
No. So this is what really messes with me.
Yeah, all right. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Finish your short synopsis.
Short.
Oh, okay. I mean, we meet Tilly's space queen friend who's a genius scientist, and they cobble together an angel suit and some other, techno science magic bullshit. And they try to destroy Discovery, and of course, because they knew that the data protects itself, it won't let them destroy the ship. I also think leaving the ship by itself, unattended with the data in it, was extremely stupid, because they try and destroy the ship, and the shields are up, and I'm like, my first thought was like, oh, Control has hacked it, because it's a computer program.
Yeah, you can't blow up the ship with people in it, though. Come on.
Well, it was stupid.
No.
I mean, it was just stupid on the show's part to have them leave the ship just to go back to it immediately.
Right.
All of that could have been accomplished by them having that plan and then, like, discovering then that the data took over the ship.
Right.
Just have someone looking at a screen go, Captain, the data's integrated itself with the ship. It won't allow. Yeah. Like, why waste so much time doing this meaningless...
Right. You bought yourself 20 minutes to build your angel suit there. But no, so much has to happen, but yet so little actually happens.
Yeah, it
doesn't cram
respect,
it all into an hour.
It doesn't respect, like, our time, I don't... Watching this thing that leads to nothing that could have been dealt with so much quicker.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
This is bullshit, sorry.
No, all right, I'm just going to get the synopsis out of the way. They need to blow up the ship. They can't blow up the ship. They see another signal, leads to Zahia, where Tilly's friend is, because they need her friend's knowledge of recrystallizing dilithium to power the crystal to charge enough so that they can jump into the future. So they do that. They all say their goodbyes, and then Section 31 shows up. The end of episode.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Basically.
So who's this queen?
Okay, so all right, yeah, Lane and Courtney talked with me about that before season 2 began because it was a short trek.
Yeah, I figured.
And it was the worst. I hated it so much.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
I like this episode. I was like, this works so much better if I pretended that I hadn't seen that short trek. Because
okay, good.
Talk about the timeline being squished together. Basically, what happens in that short trek in a 50-minute is the queen. We don't know who's the queen. She's a stowaway alien predator. Because she has invisibility powers too that don't matter. She has telekinetic zap electronics powers that don't matter, but because they were trying to do that everything in that 15-minute short trek and it's just a bad idea. And she's also a princess. She was a Disney princess stowaway that Tilly met for 45 minutes and then they're best friends forever.
Yeah.
And also to set me off, like they had this whole bullshit like the planet is my twin.
What?
Like, and they it was the dumbest thing in the world. Like, this is my twin. But, and then they had one line in this episode where she says the planet is my sister and, I have to protect it. And I was like, okay, that makes sense for a queen to say.
Right.
But then in that short trek, it's this whole thing like, my people were born at the same time as our planet. And what the fuck does that mean? I don't know. But it means the planet is my twin and it's my twin sister. I have to protect my twin.
Oh, so they were being literal.
Yeah, and so I mean,
boy.
Given my history, that pushed a lot of buttons for me. Like fuck you,
Yeah.
So, but then in this one, it was fine. Like I could trust that they have this relationship because if I go along and don't expect that it happened in a 15 minutes where she's stowed away and sent her off and didn't tell anyone else about it, and
Right.
it's fine. But if they have a longer history, I don't mind it. And that character was actually kind of fun as like the sarcastic engineer. It's good to be the queen. I don't have to stand for your bullshit, Giorgio. And she's, that was, I didn't mind that in this episode as much as I hated that shit.
Yeah, no, me too. I thought she was a kind of a fun presence.
Right. And all the stuff all the extraneous stuff that they just crammed into because they wanted to do everything with that short trek. They just didn't bother with it. Like they showed in the next on that has invisibility powers, but that wasn't important to anything that happened in this episode. So they're like, forget about it.
Right.
Well, so just speaking as someone who did in fact not see this this short trek, when I saw this in the recap, I thought for a moment like, wait, did I skip an episode somehow? Like, what the fuck is this? And then I eventually was like, oh, this must have been one of the because I've seen some of the short treks, but not all of them. And yeah, it just
And
like, this
yeah,
show...
I mean, I had no issue assuming that it was a season 1 plot line that I just skipped over, and I was like, all right, cool, this is a queen. And then I was like, nobody knows her though, just Tilly, and I was like, that's weird. But then I was also like, I don't care.
Right, yeah, like if you just like so much of this show, if you just like go along with it, okay, it's fine. Like, and if I pretend like. Like if I just saw it in this episode, I wouldn't mind that character. I actually kind of like that character. And that says a lot because I fucking hated that character so much from that short trek.
Right, I was able to just sort of like enjoy that character for what she was. Mm-hmm. That was cool. That was fun.
I agree with that. Like there was nothing that bothered me about her character. I just mean just more the concept of like, look at all the fine content you can find on CBS All Access. Like,
sure. I mean,
right.
And then...
They've done a job of this season of pulling pretty much every one of the short treks is probably going to be a plot point. Like they had the Saru one with the sister.
And I guess now the one you talked about where like the Discovery is just like
trapped in the future.
Abandoned, trapped in the future. So I guess we're heading towards that.
Right.
That seems likely.
Which I'm I'm okay with, and I'm also a little bit like, please don't do that.
I know. Which
I'm okay with in that, like, it's a cool thing, and to jump away from, like, the pre-Kirk stuff is actually a great idea for the show to do. And that's what I liked about this episode, I think, is setting up, like, okay, so we're setting up to have a ragtag group of just a few people lost in the future and having to figure out and explore the future and figure out what's going on.
That's a season 3 I'm into.
But... what I don't want them to do is screw around with the Odyssey story that we had from that short trek, because that seemed like that would be a season of just not related to Discovery that I would want to watch. Like,
well, that probably was something like along the lines of the anthology concept that Brian Fuller had, like something like.
No,
that
I mean it's a story that Michael Chabon came up with for that short trek. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
And then they're gonna try to incorporate it, and then. I mean, who knows? Like, I'm crossing my fingers also that doesn't involve that they didn't tie the Picard show into that short trek either, because Michael Chabon is one of the core creators on that, like writers, and it's based on ideas he had.
Oh, okay.
Which is cool. Like, I like Michael Chabon. I think
he seems to have cool stuff going on.
He would be a great guy to do it, but like, we can use a lot of his ideas. We don't have to tie everything into the one idea he did for a 15-minute short.
Right.
Well, anyway, so moving on with the synopsis. So like,
well, we did our synopsis. We're done with it. Now we're
synopsis
talking about
done. Yeah, no more synopsis.
we didn't address the fact that they have to jump into the future and everyone says, we're coming with you, including Spock, which means that none of this will actually matter.
Well, Spock is
Spock's-
going to be stuck in that torpedo that gets lodged into the Enterprise
exactly.
or
And that's how he's going to end up back on the Enterprise and not jumping into the future.
right.
And that's how you get all of these people who aren't mentioned in other Treks out of Trek, present timeline.
Exactly. And the thing that this episode opened with that, again, kind of drove me crazy and probably my least favorite thing that they shoehorned into this episode is we've got Papa Spock on the beach feels a great disturbance in the Force while his wife is bringing
what?
here, husband, have a bowl of incense. And
Bizarre. Deeply, deeply bizarre.
and that's the biggest timeline issue I have. They've got an hour to before Leland catches up with them, and they can't communicate via subspace, but Katra works better than subspace. So while all this is happening, somehow traveling at the speed of plot,
Yeah.
like Sarek and Amanda get a shuttle and show up and say their goodbyes and leave, all before they have to worry about Leland showing up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we've said the words like makes the universe seem small, and it's just how is this random ass planet with this random ass queen lady? Is this close to Vulcan that this can? No,
right.
It's
and
not.
they didn't even, if it is, like, fucking name check that shit or something.
That's it,
like,
right? All she needs to say is like, oh yeah, like this.
We're
planet
lucky that this is so close. Yeah.
Exactly. Like we have a point. We know this area. It's so close to Vulcan. That's all.
I have a nerd corner question that I either hopefully you or the listeners can answer. Has it been established that like Vulcan telepathy is faster than light? Like that seems.
Well, I mean, that was in season 1 with the Katra, and she knows it
when he's trapped, right?
Yeah, which I don't like it either, but they've established it, I guess. But yeah, Nerd Corner, it's faster than subspace, which is weird. I don't know how I feel. That's not very scientific. I mean, sure.
If you want to argue, like, look, if I'm a writer on the show and I want to justify this, I mean, they have established that the mycelial network exists, so maybe they could just be like, oh, well, Vulcan telepathy operates on the same frequency as the mycelial network, and maybe that doesn't make any actual scientific sense, but like for science fiction purposes, that would be absolutely fine with me.
That would drive the nerds fucking insane, because
Really?
if you tied the mycelial network is dumb enough. If you tie that intrinsically into like something that big in Vulcan culture,
You think it would be like midichlorians?
yeah, it would not go very well. No, so I don't. Yeah, it would be like midichlorians. Like, oh, the Vulcan telepathy relies on mushrooms the whole time. The nerds would not like. That.
I don't know if you guys have seen Party Down.
Yeah, of course.
But there's an episode where George Takei is at a wedding and Martin Starr like bugs him about. His question is like, so the mind meld, it seems more like it was magic. It wasn't actually anything based in science. Like what was the deal with that? And like George Takei's just like, look, talk to the writers, man. Like I'm just here for a wedding.
Right, yeah. And so that's dumb and just like, so they took, okay, they have an hour. Say we're being generous. They only took 10 minutes to say goodbye and leave.
Sure.
Michael also takes 5 minutes to review her mom's videos on how to fly the thing later on.
Right.
And
I watched some
so-
YouTube videos, so I'm fine. I can absolutely drive this thing.
Right. So, I mean, it's just like, don't give yourself such a hard, we have an hour timeline and then cram so much stuff into it.
Well,
Like,
an episode that does like a time limit like this really well is the what is it, 33 and a third episode of Battlestar Galactica. I think it's like one of the first 2 episodes of the first season. But like the whole thing is just like the Cylons, I can't remember exactly what the reason was, but like they are like attacking Battlestar Galactica every 33 and a third minutes, and it's like wearing on the crew. But like the specific time frame aside, like that episode does a really good job of conveying to the viewer the urgency, like the fact that like there's, you know, I guess 24 is like the stereotypical example.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, it's hard. You know, like it's hard to do.
You know what? Yeah, you're totally right to bring up battle. You know, Ronald D. Moore, that man could write some Star Trek.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Dude knew his science fiction. Who knew?
yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even, you know, like I watched every season of 24 because I am secretly very conservative. And I love torture.
Sure.
But like, I mean, there's moments in 24 where it doesn't, like, that ticking clock is very effective. And there's moments in 24 where you're like, none of this makes any sense.
No,
you
none
know, like,
whatsoever.
Tying a whole show to it, like, is exceptionally difficult. One episode of Star Trek, like, with the tick, I'm like, I feel no urgency
None
to
whatsoever.
get any of this done. You just extended a space bridge to another ship, got there, and then said you're just gonna go back to the other ship now. You're
Right.
just, everyone's walking across a space bridge?
Yeah,
You
there's
have
a lot.
time for everyone in the crew to walk across a space bridge?
It's quicker than teleporting them one by one, I guess.
I guess. I don't know. I feel like
Yeah.
they've done a lot, like, let's teleport this big group of people.
Right,
And I would have
right.
been more on board with just saying, like, yeah, we would just put everybody in this room and we could teleport. Space bridge? Like, this is not cool technology. This is what submarines do now.
Yeah, I mean, I like the look of, and the little force field.
I
That
did
didn't
too.
but you're right. But yeah, I mean, and then they do a good job at the beginning to show everybody running and grabbing their shit and moving over, and then they're
Yes.
like, oh, we got to go back, and then it's like, all
Right.
right,
Well, yeah, I can't talk anymore about how meaningless that beginning was.
right. But then they only send back like a small crew,
Right, a skeleton crew.
right? Because
Yeah.
and then somebody actually, I think, probably did the numbers. I think Ryan C. Britt, everybody should go read all his articles, pointed out like they at some point early in the season this is like real nerd corner minutia shit.
Oh boy.
They say how many people are stationed on the Enterprise, like that's how many crew is currently on the Enterprise.
Right.
And then somewhere in the original series, they say how many people the Enterprise can actually handle.
Oh.
And so there's a lot more that the Enterprise can handle crew-wise. And then by taking all these people over from the Discovery, the implication is that a lot of the crew complement of the Enterprise are former crewmen of the Discovery.
The Discovery. That's neat.
Yeah. But who knows? Yeah. So I mean, it's weird because the writers know that kind of like they know
Right.
they get that kind of minutia in, but then there's this other stuff that I think. I mean, and then part of it, it's just like I'm sure the producers like we're writing a show. Some of this stuff you can't sweat, which is true.
No, I get that.
I have no
Like,
issue with that.
but at the
just,
same time,
yeah.
it you know what? It really pays off when you do pay attention to some of that stuff. Like, it's nice to pay attention enough to make a nerd reference, but it's also nice to do enough to where your fucking plots make logical sense.
Well, we talked about it, you know, like, if you were gonna set your story as a prequel to like another Trek story, then, like, you have to do the work that comes with that, you know, like, you can't just do that and not sweat the small stuff. Like, no, you put yourself in a position where you have to sweat the small stuff.
Right.
And you have to do that while telling a coherent story, and at times, this show can't do either.
No, they're trying to focus on telling the emotional story,
Which is fine, which is good. Like,
which is
yeah.
good, but then it's just mostly ends up with just by telling an emotional story, it just means Michael Burnham's crying a lot.
Yes.
And
yeah.
saying things, you know, like, and she's good at crying. She's a good actor. But
She is. It was last episode where she almost got taken over by nanobites, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was doing her fun, like, feral animal yelling as she, like, double-fisted phasers at that thing.
Right. Oh, in watching this episode, I was watching it with Joni, and she wasn't paying attention. She'd be like, you know what? Even when you're not watching the show, you can tell when Michael is in a fight.
Yep.
Because you hear him like, and nobody else does those noises. It's like, oh, there's a space fight going on. Oh, Michael's there.
Yep. We know
And-
Michael's in some sort of peril.
Right. Like I said,
For
she's a
her.
good actor.
Overact. Yeah.
But
I'll say-
also it's just like every scene is at 11.
It is. Yeah, it is.
I'm just gonna say again that Sonequa Martin Green, like, we as a industry owe her like a video game to star in, because she, like, I'm not joking. I'm not even being sarcastic. I'm not being facetious. Like, I genuinely think Like, even if it's not like a Star Trek Discovery game, like, give her a video game role to act out because she would kill it.
Just give her every character in a Mortal Kombat game.
Yeah. She could certainly do it.
Fatality.
Yeah,
and then you play that.
Her getting fatality'd would be great. Yeah.
You play that her scream when she sees the Red Angel for the first time.
Yep.
I mean, you could just use existing audio.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's true.
And yeah. All right. We got a lot of flack on the internet from just one nerd on the internet who's,
Which is fine, Look, you're allowed to.
What? No. Hey, thanks for still listening. I know you're still listening. And now he's gonna say I'm not listening anymore because you made fun of me or something.
You can't.
But in all seriousness,
they'd only know that we said they're still listening if they listen.
I know.
Yeah.
See that?
It's Schrodinger's
We still win.
Schrodinger's podcast.
I mean, if you want engagement from your podcast, hey, we will give it to you. Maybe not in the way you would. I love you all. Even
I love you all equally.
Yeah, no, not equally, but I do love you all. But we got a lot of flack for not understanding how fucking time crystals work, and then this episode, they state like, we don't know how this time crystal works or what to do with it.
Right.
And then later they're like, oh, well, why don't we build a suit? Oh, yeah, we can do that. Oh, we don't have the tools. Well, we can melt down some of the bulkheads for the tritanium alloy. Okay, I wonder how long that'll take. 15 minutes, apparently. But
that seemed wild to me that they were like, oh, let's build a suit. And they're like, we don't have the stuff to build this suit. And then someone else was like, wait, yeah, we do. And they were like, okay. And then they did it. I'm like, what? Are there stakes or not?
That's what this show does all the time. Like, oh, we blow up the ship. Oh, we can't blow up the ship. Okay, back to the ship.
And spend so much time being like, we're going to blow up the ship.
Right.
And then I'm like, I don't think you're going to blow up the ship.
And they didn't.
I think the ship's gonna still be around in season 3.
Yep.
Yeah. The one and only.
So for me, like what the crux of the issue is with the time crystals is and
everything.
Yeah, we're stuck here with time crystals we don't know how to use. Yeah.
Well,
up here's Twitter user.
And then the solution is, I guess let's do what your mom did.
Oh, we can. Oh, okay.
And they're all like, oh yeah, okay. We sort of have like a blueprint for time crystal based success. I guess let's do it.
And then they're in the board meeting and they're like, well, we don't have a way to power it. And you know what? Philippa Giorgio, like Michelle Yeoh, that was a pretty good, like, well,
that was so funny.
We don't have a red giant. Well, any system's going to have a red giant, but not one that is going to go in the supernova. And she's like, well, just fire some antimatter in it. And they're like, what? No, that's a horrible idea.
I thought there were no bad ideas. That's it.
No.
That was a good scene.
And that was fun. Ugh.
Yeah, when they're having fun, I like this. And then they spend like 30 minutes crying.
Yeah.
Well, what does Pike say in the premiere of this season? Don't forget to have fun. And this season has forgotten so many times to have fun. And with the time crystals in particular and all the technobabble, I don't know if you guys know this, but I've been watching the original series. I know, right?
Well, why don't you tell us about it?
I'm gonna. But look, and honestly, this is less even about the original series and more about just like my understanding of how they like treated issues like this. Like one of my favorite episodes of Futurama is the Star Trek like guest star episode.
Yeah. And
one of the things they talk about is how Star Trek would always present a complicated technical problem and then summarize it as a simple analogy. Like
right.
Like putting too much air in a balloon. And Discovery does not do that. Discovery wants you to like get the science or the pseudo
I don't know. They
want you to get their science.
Right. They do. I might point out that they do that a little bit. They're like, oh, it's like charging it with a waterfall. We'll do it, but it's going to they do resort to those metaphors a little bit.
Maybe. Okay.
It's like we could charge the crystal because Tilly's friend's going to tell us how to do it, and then it's not going to be any good.
My eyes might have glazed over when they said that. And so I'll freely admit that's on me for not catching that. But point being, they spend so much time like just dancing around the technobabble where like, again, it's Sean, you said it, it's like, tell me what are the stakes here? Like we don't actually have a clear context for any of this.
That's the problem when you've established like, and I mean even like Tig says it at one point, like I guess we'll like, I forget what she says, but like something like, I guess it was save everything, I guess. And it's like, and like, that's it. Like, that's a microcosm of this. I'm like, every single thing?
Right.
And when you do that, like, and you can't really establish stakes moment to moment because they're like, the stakes, it's everything. And I'm like, right, but you still need to engage me right now. Like, I need to understand your ticking clock so I can care about it. Like,
right.
I
mean, it's like the most basic thing that I learned at my state school theater department. Like when you're acting, like, hey, I went to a great school. I had a great time in college.
Hey, I also have a theater degree from a state school, so.
But it's like when you want to like leave room to reach. You can't go full at 11 because if you go too far, you don't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what this show does, like with the performances sometimes, and also like we're saving the universe. Is like, all right, that's a little much.
Yeah, I mean, at episode like 10, the show was at 11, and I'm like, okay. I mean, boy, we've got to finish this season now, and I am like as ramped up as I feel like I'm gonna get. So, well, let's see.
So once again, I find myself comparing something in Star Trek Discovery to the Mitchell and Webb running sketch Number Wang, the game show, which has no rules aside from shouting out random numbers. And they do a parody of the Da Vinci Code called the Number Wang Code. And at one point, again, the joke is just that it's all about just shouting out random numbers,
right.
Like, in that veneer. And then at one point says, we have to solve this puzzle. And they said, or else what? Or else the world might end. And they just don't talk about it anymore. Like, they just say.
Yeah. I mean, and it's going the show saying like one thing and saying, but no, it's the other thing, but actually it was this thing. Like they do the same thing, for instance, with why they can't build a suit for Pike or whatever. It's like, no, it's coded to Michael's DNA. Or it's coded to Michael's mother's DNA, so maybe we can make one that's compatible with her. And then she's my mRNA is only compatible. And then the whole thing where they talked about like, oh, we got the readings and it's you, Michael, it's you. And then they're like, well, actually, it wasn't you, it was your mom. Well, but then they double back and say, oh, right. It was you. We were right the first time. It's like, well, just pick one, okay? Just pick one.
Well, it's both, right? Like it's
right.
Michael's mom is the one coming back and saving Michael, but Michael's the one who sent the signals.
Right. So
oh God, I hate that.
So when they got the reading of it being Michael's DNA, actually we said it was Michael's mom's DNA because it's the same thing, but actually no, it was Michael's DNA. So like which
right.
It's both, and it's
you
not.
Can't have both. You
right.
can't have both.
You got to pick one and be clear with what you're saying about it. But they're not clear because they'll say one thing in the next episode. They'll say like, "Okay, well, no, it's we said this thing, and that's what it is now." It's like, and it's both.
Everything is muddled. It's so muddy, and like that's what sci-fi can't afford. Like,
right.
You're creating a universe, or like in Star Trek, in Discovery's case, like carving out your corner of a universe in existence, but like one that we do not see. Like fucking Boyhood doesn't have to establish how people grow. Like we know how people grow, but
right.
Discovery like has to establish every single rule of this universe, and like when that's different from another Trek, or when it's different than something Discovery said an episode ago, we're like, huh?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Because we don't have a foundation. Like we're not grounded in this world. So they have to follow their own rules.
It's the whole thing about like the people that make Discovery don't trust the viewers. They think the viewers need to have everything like exhausted.
Well, but they don't even do a good job of explaining.
No, they don't,
because they change everything.
Right. It's funny to me because like this episode in particular, it quoted one of my favorite Mike Ehrmantraub quotes from Breaking Bad. He's like, there will be, or somebody says, there will be no half measures, sir. There will be no half measure. I can't fucking oranges. There will be no half measures, sir. And so it's like, oh, okay, great. And then they go back and then they go to the Enterprise and they say, oh, we've ripped out all the holographs on the bridge and there will never be any holographs ever again. And and then you're like, okay, cool. But you're saying that now for the Enterprise and you're making a half measure here because I'm sure that's how what they're going to fall back on and explaining that's why it's not in the future. What you need is like some dictate or them saying that this is how it's going to be across the fleet.
Right.
Like because, okay, it's fine for this one ship, but then how come every other ship doesn't have holograms anymore? Like,
Right, exactly.
You need a plot where they're talking about how the threat of Section 31's control is going to have to change everything, how we do things. And they haven't done that yet, but they feel like they've named it enough to get it out of the way. And maybe they will next episode, but it's just like...
But even if they do, they're not going to do it well, or they're not going to do it enough.
Right, it's going to be half measures again.
It's all it's half measures, fan service, it's I mean, that's all Spock is on the show. Spock is like an existing half measure,
right.
There's no reason for him to be here, but he is here. So like, if he's here, you got to use him, and you don't. Like, they do not utilize Spock in any satisfying way because they can't, because it's not his story.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. Is there a possibility that at some point next episode, them going into the future like erases everybody's memory of them in the past? Are they going to try to do something like that to that's why Spock doesn't talk about her ever, or talk about that time he saved every sentient being?
That's definitely a possibility.
That's interesting to me. That feels like,
I mean,
some sort of time nonsense erases the Discovery crew from everybody's memory.
Yeah. They could do that.
All right.
I mean, that would be a full measure of sorts.
That would be a full measure. And I'll tell you, like, depending on how it's done, that would get a lot of forgiveness from me. That I'd be kind of on board with.
We're so like used to just forced reboots, like for shows and movies where it's like, where they just like, well, fuck, this isn't working. All right, hit the reset button. We're just gonna try again. And
I mean, I'm okay with erasing their memory, but if they use it as an excuse to say that's why everything is different and that's gonna be like a cop out.
Well, right, that would not,
But
I'm on board with next season being, like, this Discovery crew in the future, unrelated to like anything that's happened outside of like character stuff in seasons 1 and 2. Like I that's a reboot I can get on board with. If you have like a solid like creative staff on this show finally, and they're like, our vision is like to just take them into another place so we can start over our way and we can actually make this show something, then like, I'll watch that. I'm on board. That's neat.
Yeah, and they're gonna jump to the future and steal a queen, I guess, because they'll want to.
Yeah, she's coming. On. I mean, listen, if she and Tilly are gonna, bow chicka bow wow, then like, I'm on board. I like that Tig is a lesbian.
Yeah, I like that.
Just
too.
a little, like of course she is, but like,
sure.
Good for you, Star Trek.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's like edgelords on the internet like, oh, they can't have any straight relationships. No, they can. Michael has one. It's just bad.
I mean, I think when you establish like one of the preeminent like lesbian comedians on your show, you should probably, not address her relationship or make her a lesbian. Like, you should do one of those two things.
Right. Well, I think one credit I'll give this show, it's not like the edgelords will say it's patting itself on the back, but it's just treating these gay relationships as just like normal relationships.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's normal.
I mean, like the problem with Stamets and Culber isn't their relationship. It's just like it's they keep forcing like, oh, there's all this drama, but it's like when I was like, I don't know why there needs to be. I know that you're trying to draw this out so that there's this tension between them, and we want them to get back together, but they're still at odds. But they're at odds is still kind of a little bit of like, just get it over with already.
Right. But now, it seems like, I mean, it's over because he's going to the Enterprise. He's not coming with them.
Yeah, and that scene I didn't think was a bad scene.
Me neither.
I thought that was, they were, those actors are both fantastic at what they're doing, and the scene, the stakes of them will just get back together already. All right, fine, they're not, and their goodbye was pretty heartfelt and everything.
Yeah, the show does that. It does character beats sometimes, and like when it does them honestly and when it does them earnestly, like I'm usually on board.
Right,
the show's usually pretty good at that stuff. It's I don't know. It's the more Star Trek-y stuff that I don't like.
Right. I wish they could pull some of those emotional character scenes down to like a 6 sometimes.
I agree, yes.
But, everybody's doing good work. But I mean, here's my prediction for how that's going to work out. Like, Culber says he's staying on the Enterprise, but at the last minute, he's going to decide, no, I can't live without you, and rush over.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Because when they're doing the whole, like, tableau where everybody's standing in the hallway saying, we're staying with you, Michael, they have a very nice silhouette, like, this is the team, kind of with Jet Reno. Jet Reno's even got her hands on her hips.
Yeah.
And, you go through that and you say, okay, well, they've got their chief engineer. They've got this person over here. What they don't have is a chief medical officer.
Okay.
And so...
Very funny.
I expect that, my guess is...
I like that, I guess, Okajun, is that her? I'm so sorry.
Oweshikun or something?
Yeah, Oweshikun.
I think they call her OO for short, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I guess she wasn't in there because when they're on the bridge, Pike's like, she's requested to stay with you too. And we're like, oh, all right.
Oh, no, he's talking about, what's her name? The bread lady. Nan. It's like Nan.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that was Nan. I'm sorry. Yeah. But I guess Nan wasn't there. Like, she couldn't make it to their little, like, powwow in the hallway.
Right. Because they were all, like, Discovery crew. Nan was Enterprise crew, and she requested to stay on Discovery with her.
Okay, I forgot about that. Yeah. That's right. Okay, fair enough.
And the big bug-headed alien, like, okay, well, I hope that gets an episode.
Yeah.
I hope next season starts off with them just, like, doing character episodes for each part of the ensemble. And
we'll see, who they kill next episode.
Yeah, good point.
Big space battle. Someone's getting blown up.
Yeah, so someone's getting got.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've seen Michael has visions of it left over from the time crystal.
Yeah.
And, I didn't hate that stuff. Like,
it's fine.
It's very Galaxy Quest.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is.
Full circle, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, she realizes that if they stay on the Enterprise and keep shooting at it, that everybody's going to die. So she's like, no, we can't do that.
Right.
And then Jet Reno has the same visions when they're in the scene with her and Stamets and Tilly, where they're going over the cage that they're charging. Because they're charging the time crystal through the spore drive.
Right.
And the spore drive is going to be inactive for 12 hours, so they can't jump anywhere. So that's why the Enterprise has to protect them. That's why next episode is all going to be space battle.
Yep. Yeah. I liked that scene. I thought.
Yeah, me too.
You put those three in a room, like, snarkily talking science at each other.
Sure.
I'll watch that for an hour, man.
Yeah. Everybody gets their Civil War, dearest Martha.
Right.
I'm riding home from the front. I may not see you again. Yeah. Detmer mentions Tazzy, her best friend, and instead of writing to Hugh, like, Stamets is writing to his brother. And, like, that's all.
Right.
I feel like that was, like, the kind of stuff that we've only gotten in Michelle Paradise scripts where she's like, wait, we need to give these characters, like, some actual backstory to hook into.
Yeah, we can't just...
Right, and it's like now's your moment. It's like, all right, let's give everybody something, and whoever survives, maybe we'll explore it later. Maybe we will not.
Right. Yeah. The thing that I hated most in this whole episode, I guess I've already stepped on the Sarek stuff.
Yeah.
Weepy. This is my nerd corner canon. What the fuck?
Here we go.
Is the weepy, emotional Vulcan dad was like, no, no, stop. Because that whole scene was just way, like, I mean, Joni, when she was watching it, she was like, this is some 80s bullshit.
Yeah.
Putting her hand up on the glass to say goodbye.
That was brutal. Yeah. That I hated a lot.
Well, it's from Wrath of Khan. And
it's like, I mean, Pike did that when he got radiated and his flashback forward. And,
right.
Yeah.
It's,
like, Ariam did it probably on her... Or Michael did it when Ariam got sucked out the airlock.
I think she did. That sounds right.
Yeah.
It's just it's funny how many times, like, very small, well, maybe not small, but very, like, clearly, like, singular moments get turned into, mythology.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's just seems it cheapens and dilutes the original.
Yeah.
It's weird that Ariam had the 3 dots in her eyes when she was taken over by Control, and that those haven't, like, come back as Control's
right. Well,
symbol or anything.
It's because someone pointed out, hey, this is Brainiac's symbol. Did you realize that? And they eventually did, and like, oh shit, we can't keep using this.
Yeah, oops.
It was just weird, like, oh look, like, Control has a calling card, like a symbol, like,
right.
You'd picture, like, he'd stab Leland in the eye, and then the 3 circles would appear, you know,
Right.
and like,
Well,
Right.
when they discover that what's his name in last episode was Control, it would appear on the computer, you know, like, but they're like, no, fuck it, we don't need the 3 dots anymore.
Can we just talk for a moment about how goddamn ridiculous the idea that Control is not technically conscious?
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, we talk about
Yeah.
it every single episode, but I just want to reiterate that
Yeah.
that is the conceit of this season's, like,
Control's
villain.
very good at stuff.
if
and-
control contains consciousness, then it's all over. It's like that,
It is able to operate a fleet of ships independently of each other. I'm
Right.
pretty sure it's got it.
yeah, and I mean, and it
that don't make no sense.
it took over like 13 ships now, and it creates soldiers who are like virtually indestructible. Like,
Right.
it feels like Control in its current form would have a pretty decent shot at like defeating the Starfleet. Like, I feel
Right.
like
look,
hell-
they're gonna
hell.
jump to the future, and there's still like a big, difficult to win war that's gonna have to happen here.
Hell, like if we're talking about like computer, like programming logic, it gets a weird bug in its logics where it's like, oh, to save life, I have to destroy it all.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense, I guess,
That's
if you're
an
doing it.
extremely played out story, though.
It's just extremely played out, but that makes sense. But then,
Yeah.
you know what? And if it contains consciousness, for me, I feel like a conscious being would be like, "Oh, wait, no, that's stupid." Never
Right, I think
mind.
I can rethink. It would get that sphere data and then be like, I have made a mistake.
yeah,
that's-
wait, that is not.
I may be wrong about a lot of
Well,
things.
there's actually there's a TOS episode. I forget what it's called, but it's like they basically let an AI take over the Enterprise at the behest of like some Nobel prize winning computer scientist, and the thing is, it goes out of control and starts like attacking other ships and killing people. And the episode does end with Kirk basically saying like, because the computer is based on like the brainwaves of the guy that created it. It's like, oh, do you accept that like murder is an unforgivable crime? And he's like, yes. You realize that you have murdered. I mean, it's the whole like, here's a paradox.
yeah.
But he basically talks the computer into killing itself. So, this territory has kind of already been covered by Star Trek, and maybe they're going to tie it into it somehow, but like, I don't know. It's just like,
Yeah,
the consciousness thing just to me is like, they are asking us to be so stupid to accept that premise.
right.
When-
It's like just go with it and accept it as true. Like I can do that, but like don't. I mean, give me something that's gonna make sense thematically with the stories that you're trying to tell. But it's just like
They would have had to take time to like show Control being bad at stuff,
Yeah.
show Control sort of fumble through some plans and then like get some of the sphere data, which we know it has, like, and get better,
Right.
like, but they didn't really put in the time for that. So they're just like, look how good Control is, but Control only gets better if it gets the sphere data. And I'm like, really?
yeah, right. It seems to have a handle and shit. but-
Yeah, I don't think it needs the sphere data, man. It's fucking you guys up.
Yeah.
You're not winning.
Yeah, they could have done two things. I think they like two options, like to like adjusting its motives. They could either do, okay, it needs the sphere data to break free of like the closed circuit network of Section 31.
Sure.
That at least feels like, okay, it can do all these things, but it can only do it through Section 31's infrastructure.
Yeah, right.
And like it needs the sphere data to somehow become free of its original like
Constraints. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And or they could further rip off the Ultron like storyline and just say like, oh, it's looking to become a hybrid of, well, I mean, maybe we've discussed this already with the Borg potential, but like, maybe its goal could be like, oh, it needs a more organic form to better conquer the universe, which again, it's hacky and it's been played out, but like that's better than asking us to accept that this thing, which like you said, Sean, is doing fine.
Yeah, is
Right.
winning.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. The Borg's whole thing is your knowledge will become our own.
Right.
And so
And
we're
they could have
adding-
done that, even if they didn't like tie it into the Borg.
I mean, they still might.
Yeah.
That's how they'll do a Borg thing. Is like it might not get the.
Yeah.
For instance, one way, a likely way they might go is like, oh, it didn't get the sphere data, but now it's trying to assimilate all the knowledge and data it can by marauding across the galaxy.
Right, like it got away.
and they'll send it. They'll send it. Galaxies away.
No, not. They'll send it to the Delta Quadrant because that's where the Borg originated from. If you know Voyager.
Right.
Oh, I thought the Borg are from outside the galaxy.
No, they're They're no.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're started generally nothing except in a few TOS and stuff. The galaxy is where everything takes place.
Yeah, there's a couple episodes I've watched recently where it's like, oh, these are extra galactic creatures. My personal favorite being like these like tiny, shrimp ostrich Muppets that they made.
Right. Like by TNG, anyways, they realized that the galaxy is a fucking enormous place and that you can tell all the stories you need in the galaxy.
Right, you don't need things outside of it.
Right.
And then, well, in the Destiny trilogy books by David Mack, the Proto-Borg aliens are trying to reach other galaxies. That's part of their whole shtick.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But,
okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So we think like that like one Ultron robot left, like, will get away and go start the Borg or something.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be time. There'll be some time travel. They'll send it into the past, like
right.
I mean, if they're gonna, and which I think we know they're good at referencing things. If they're doing it right, quotation marks,
right,
they might send it back to the 14th century or whenever the Voyager says that the Borg have been around since.
All right.
So yeah,
Star Trek's dumb.
Yeah, you're starting to sound like somebody on the ROA.
Yeah, I
is
know.
this had just the story of Sean and I slowly morphing into James and Hugh?
Yeah, it sounds like.
I'm taking notes like, oh, today I had worse opinions about Star Trek Discovery. It's fascinating.
It's amazing how fast I turned on this show.
Yeah,
it was like it just took like a couple episodes after that good streak they had.
It took one
I
on
mean,
a dime. You switched.
Yeah, it turned very fast. I think the show. I think the there was that one episode that you guys all hated, and I was like, I'm still kind of on board. I'm ready for it. But that was my last like bit of goodwill.
They got you.
And when they squandered that, I was like, you've lost me completely.
Yeah.
A good finale can get me though.
Sure.
Right.
Well,
yeah. Like hey, nerds on the internet, come at us if you're really like. People get so fucking delicate about anything if you try to naysay this show.
I think and look, I mean, I'm not trying to like appeal to like these people's better judgment. That's not going to happen. They're going to be mad. But like, I think it's important to note that like we want to like this. Like we are not here to dislike this. Like I think that was clear. Like Wade came in, negative from season 1 and was more positive about a lot of this season. Like Glenn and I came in cold, and Glenn liked it enough to go watch all of Star Trek and never shut up about it. And I love you so much, Glenn.
I love you too, Sean.
And like, I'm not gonna watch more Star Trek because fuck you. What, eat shit. But I like this season. Like I've liked what I've watched, and like I'm so sad. Like I yell because I'm angry. Like if I didn't care or if I wanted to hate it, I wouldn't be so mad. Like I would just say like, oh yeah, this is bullshit. Like, and I don't care. Ha ha. Like, Tig, that's funny. But no, like I'm pissed off.
Yeah.
I'm pissed off that they ruined it. That they took a thing that I liked. The first like Star Trek anything I've watched that doesn't have Chris Pine in it and made it shitty. Like I was liking this. I was ready to be on board. I was ready to like start this new chapter of my nerd life with Star Trek. And then by now I'm like, this is horse shit. What do I care?
Yeah. I mean, I even like I said, I like things in this episode, but like,
well, I do too, but it's not enough. It's overall, yeah.
I have a podcast. I can't just talk about the things I like without mentioning the things that
yeah, of course,
I don't like, which is considerable. Like, and the things I did like, most of what I liked about this episode was honestly the setup for season 3, which is like,
yeah,
this is the same shit. Like I get this shit from James all the time. It's like, well, like if you don't like it, don't like it. It's like quit, holding out. Or Hughes called it. It's like an abusive relationship. Huh. No, he loves me. He's a good man. He's gonna come. He says he's gonna be better next time, and I keep falling for it. But no, like I have an affinity for Star Trek, and I want it to be good. And I like the idea of space friends in the future. Yeah, small group learning and exploring shit.
Void of this context that is weighing the show down.
Yeah. But in this episode, I liked the setup for a lot of that stuff. I liked a lot of the character stuff.
Some very satisfying character beats in this episode. Absolutely.
But then when it was all weepy goodbyes, and I know these people are still going to be around.
I know that, yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, fine. And then it just ends because this is a 2-parter and nothing is resolved. It just like ends very abruptly.
It does, yeah. Get ready for a fight. And I'm like, all right. Fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
Who cares? Eat shit.
Yeah. And then they're beamed into the Enterprise, and Clint Fandango is like, oh, do you trust me now? Because I got to get the fuck out of here.
Oh, I really liked the Giorgio. I'm Terran, from the Mirror Universe. But what Mirror Universe? Wink.
That was.
I don't know.
I like that.
Got me. I like that very much.
Me too.
Yeah, and I like that she says from your Mirror Universe because, like we made fun of last time, like
exactly
the Prime Universe for her would be our Mirror.
Yeah, they heard us.
Like motherfucker, like you're the Mirror Universe. We do have to. I feel like we need to call out the MVPs of this season, which I think are very clearly Michelle Yeoh and Anson Mount. Like they absolutely have,
Oh yeah,
done
Michelle
best work
Yeoh's like, even as much as I hated season 1, like she's just fun to watch.
Yeah.
And Anson Mount, I think, did a great job on this. Everybody is like signing, all the people that get mad when you say anything bad about Discovery are also like petitioning to get a Pike spinoff, and they're like, I'm so mad that Pike's not gonna be on the show anymore. And I'm like, I love the guy. He's the highlight of the season, but I'm ready to see him gone for the show.
Yeah, the show's got to tell its own story.
Sure.
He's in the way of that.
I would not be opposed to a Pike spinoff if they, because they've established that like he can be an interesting character clearly someone at some point did, because they almost made the entire original series based off of him. But
then they decided he wasn't
very different.
They decided he wasn't interesting enough. Get a new captain.
Yeah,
fair enough. And then they changed him entirely for the movie and for this season.
And I will say they spent a good amount of money on that Enterprise bridge.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, and you know what? I like the redesign.
Did you like it?
I did.
Okay.
It didn't bug me.
Better than the 2009 Kelvin stuff, because it felt like a visual upgrade from the original, like in a way that is fine.
I don't know if you guys noticed the elevator. It's the handle. He doesn't hold it like in the original series. He just touches it and it goes up.
Yeah, it was. He should have held on to it while they were moving, but fine.
Yeah, because they like literally like just hold on to it, which seems very labor intensive.
Right, but
for an elevator.
But they put it in there, So the way the corridors looked, it was like, oh, that's a great. You know what? I'm on board for that being what.
Yeah, I thought it looked cool.
Yeah. It was true to the. It looked a lot nicer, but it was true to the vision.
Yeah. No, it was an updated look of the original bridge. Like, and that's what they should do. They shouldn't feel pressure to make it look identical.
Right.
And they had their silly orange shirts.
Yeah, and I think that's. And then when Michelle comes on and says, "Ugh, orange."
Yeah.
I think because the red, what I always see is red, like paneling on the bridge. Some people see it's like a what color is the dress kind of thing. I think.
Right.
Oh. Remember when that was our biggest problem?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked all of Michelle Yeoh's looks. Like she does that.
Yeah, me too.
With Poe, where.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing that makes Tig so great. Is like we need a couple characters in the mix that like are removed from like the melodrama of Star Trek. Like you need someone who's kind of not even necessarily comic relief, though it does serve that purpose too. But like they're just they're not bullshitters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they roll their eyes and they say you're dumb, and I'm like, oh, good, somebody else called them dumb, so I don't have to.
I was gonna say they're normal people, but Michelle Yeoh, Philippa Georgiou is.
Yeah. She's not. Yeah.
She's, as you mentioned, she is a space tyrant and maniac.
Yeah, she is a space Hitler. You got to keep reminding yourself that.
Well, that was the whole point of the supernova thing she suggested, where it's like you do realize that we would obliterate every planet in like this sector.
Yeah,
and she's like, yeah,
sure.
It's like what?
But to save how many?
Right. And you know what? Like, find one without any inhabited planets around in that system, and like, fuck it, blow that shit up. I don't care.
I could be convinced,
but people do care, I guess.
Well, yes, and destroying planets is even if it's uninhabited, seems like a
It's a dick move, sure.
It's a big matzo ball. But I could also be convinced, like through technobabble, they're like, oh well, we can't be sure that there aren't primitive life forms that our scanners can't detect. Whatever.
Who cares about them?
Yeah.
They're pre-warp. Who gives a shit?
People have those arguments about like terraforming Mars and shit too. Like, and I'm like, wipe them out, man. Let's move. But that's all.
Well, Mars at least seems like a planet that probably just had life at some point. And
right. Well, that's why there's a lot of like ethical scientists saying it would be wrong to send people there, but we're not nobody's going to Mars.
I mean, we can't do it yet, so there's no point.
So never mind. If we're arguing about Mars colonization, maybe it's a good time to start wrapping this up.
Yeah, I think we've maybe jumped the shark this episode. So
yeah.
Well,
all right.
I guess plugs. Sean, how's Little Greek?
It's good. The fries are good. They put that like Greek seasoning
Great
on their fries. I love that seasoning.
All right.
It's nice.
All right.
Wade?
Yeah, I guess there's that QED&D show. If you're in the New York area, go out to Queens to see it.
Yep. At QED and D at Twitter and Instagram. And next week we are doing a Pacific Rim themed campaign. And then I will I'm just going to plug that Mitchell and Webb look, the sketch show I keep referring to.
All right.
All right. Yeah.
Hey, come on.
They need to be talking up us. No.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
You know what? I'll reach out to them. I'll see if I can get them to give us a
if you could reach out to both Mitchell and Webb and tell them to plug.
Hey, they're both on Twitter.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, then then get on it.
Yeah. What are they waiting for? What are you waiting? What's everybody waiting for?
Yeah. And if you're a listener and you're on Twitter, some people say don't add us. I say bring it on.
Oh, absolutely.
Add the fuck out of us.
Please, we need that sweet engagement. But do all the stuff that every podcast asks you to do.
Yeah. That's.
I stole your words, Wade. I'm sorry.
I usually end up saying.
Yeah. Who's the host of this show?
I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
No. Do what Glenn just said, and no, it's okay that I'm not the one saying it every time. Yeah. So do all that stuff. We do have that hotline number for the Kickers of Elf stuff that I haven't updated the voicemail message yet. So in a long time. So it's probably talking about some DS9 stuff. Doesn't matter. Anyways, you can give us a call if you want at 917.
Yeah, yell at us. Sorry.
Yeah. You can yell at us via Twitter or like via the magic of your own phone at 917-408-3898 and do that thing that Glenn said. And I think that's a good place to. Somebody pick a line to go out on.
That's Number Wang.
This has been a podcast.
God damn it.
I asked for it, and there it is.
You got it.
All right.
Hey, none of you fuckers were doing anything.
I asked you. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, so really,
I put the call
Sean
out.
wasn't doing anything, so really this is on him. Fair enough.
All right. Fuck you. That's the line I want to go out on. Fuck you.
All right.
I love you, Sean.
Subscribe
I
to
love
us
you.
on iTunes or Stitcher or Caster or Fuckcast or Podsucker.
Are you waiting on me to say it too? No.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Bye.
Review us on iTunes. Also,
It's hard to talk about episodes where nothing happens.